Hey, it's Meatball.
And Mark.
And this is the Rocker Morning Show on demand from 107.7 RKR.
Jim, you're on with Mark and Meatball.
Hey, Mark and Meatball, Jim Peterik.
Hey, Jim, what's up, man? How are you?
Living the dream, Mark and Meatball.
Well, you know him from helping co-found the band Survivor. He's also in the Ides of March and Pride of Lions, a Grammy winner. Written hits for 38 Special, Leonard Skinner, Cheap Trick, Sammy Hagar, REO Speedwagon. Jim, is there anybody else?
Boy, listen to that. That's pretty impressive. Hell yeah.
Well, you're releasing your new album, The World Stage, Roots and Shoots Volume 2. Jim Peterik, welcome to the Rocker Morning Show. It's a pleasure to have you on today, man.
We're all good.
Oh, man. Well, we're only 2 hours away from Chicago here in Kalamazoo, which I love because I love hitting up Chicago shows. So we're very familiar with the band Survivor and Ides of March. This was a crazy city in the 70s and early 80s for bands. You had the band Chicago, Styx, Cheap Trick, Blue Oyster Cult, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, all in their prime. So how was Survivor able to rise up in the late 70s and early 80s with all these powerhouse bands all from Chicago around you?
Well, rising up back on the street, rising up. We were rising up. But we were fighting the good fight. Survivor, we had a strong, the original lead singer, Dave Bickler, amazing, gritty, vocalist that he's the guy with the beret. And of course, Eye of the Tiger was his signature moment. And only Bickler can really sing that song the way it's properly done. And then he left the band, and we held auditions, and we almost gave the mantle to another singer, but then Jimmy Jameson flew into town from Memphis, and Frankie and I just wrote "The Search Is Over," and
right.
that was like the test song, and he's singing along. I go, "Have you heard this song before?" He had the melody already, and he says, "No, man, I just got a really good ear." But it came to the one part, and now I look into your eyes, and his voice cracked on eyes, right? And I go to Frankie, "Oh man, we better lower the key," And Jimmy goes, "Oh man, give half a man a chance." And we did another take, and this time it's like, "Then I look into your eyes, clear as a bell." And I said, "Man, you got the gig."
Oh, that's fantastic.
And the rest is history. He was still the best singer I think I've ever worked with in my whole career.
Man, Survivor is one of those bands that just when you hear those songs, and there's so many of them, that are instantly recognizable. I heard a little thing though about the band Survivor. Is it true that the name it's more or less kind of named after you or after something about you in some writer's notes somewhere?
Yeah. I had an album called Jim Peterik Don't Fight the Feeling in 1976. And label manager Jim Charney, he wrote the liner notes. And the first line of those liner notes is, "Jim Peterik is a survivor." And he said, a survivor of, countless tours with the Ides of March, this and that. I mean, I was 22 and I was a survivor at that time, but I always loved that word.
Yeah.
And so, it was the Jim Peterik band, and it was me and Dave Bickler sharing lead vocals. But at a point I realized, this is more than the Jim Peterik band with Dave Bickler. And I remember that line, "Jim Peterik is the survivor," and we became Survivor.
That's phenomenal.
I just gotta say a side note here. I was playing in a band some years ago, and I was singing with them, and I had joined, and we were just basically like a classic rock, kind of like a party band. And that was my first experience with the song Vehicle. And I kind of like modeled my voice kind of just like Jim Belushi, more of a gritty blues voice. And Vehicle is one of my favorite songs to sing in the world. The song itself is just such a powerhouse, and I've always been a big fan of bands with horns. Can you kind of attribute that to being in the Illinois area?
I think more of the Chicago area, really you had to have brass in Chicago, in the town of Chicago. You didn't have to. But we started out with one trumpet, and we were doing, I feel good, and that worked fine. But, I have to say, we were influenced by Blood, Sweat, and Tears, but even before David Clayton Thomas, the original Blood, Sweat, and Tears with Al Cooper.
Right.
That's that band that lit us on fire. And I said to Larry, we got to fill out this brass section. And that's when we added a bone and a saxophone. We had a full brass section. And that's what you're hearing on Vehicle.
Man, it's so cool, honestly. And it sent me down an Ides of March rabbit hole because I just became infatuated. I'm also curious how you got connected with Sylvester Stallone that eventually led to you writing and recording Eye of the Tiger.
Well, that was the phone call that changed my life. It was on my answering machine. And I come home and sorting mail, and I hear a couple of messages from friends, and then there was one that kind of stopped me in my tracks. Hey, Jim, that's a nice answering machine you got there. Give me a call. It's Sylvester Stallone. And I keep sorting mail. I sit, and Karen goes, my wife, who's that? I saw some joker pretending to be Stallone. and Karen goes, you idiot. It might be Stallone, better call him back. So it was an 818 area code. That was a good sign. And he answers the phone. Yo, another good sign. And I go, this is Jim Peterik. Is this really Sylvester Stallone? And he goes, hey, Jimbo, call me Sly. Another good sign. So here I am, kid from Berlin, calling my hero, who was already my hero because of Rocky 1 and 2. I was calling him Sly. So what's going on, Sly? And he goes, well, I got this movie called Rocky 3, and I don't want to use a Gonna Fly Now song. It's a nice song, but I want something for the kids, something with a pulse.
Yeah. Can
you help me out? And I joke. I go, yeah, it's the Pope Catholic. And he goes, oh, that's a good joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
You still have that tape saved from your answering machine, right? Like it's framed on the wall.
I sure wish. But anyway, the memories are fresh.
Oh, man.
I'm going to send you a rough cut of the movie, and I want you to write a song that's going to outlive you and me. And I said, no problem, Sly.
Man.
And the rest is history.
That's super cool.
Well, you've got this album coming out with you and the World Stage, which I want to touch on the band a little bit. This is kind of like a super group made up of like artists in your World Stage international label. Is that right?
It is. It's the same cast of characters really in the band. They've been playing with me for about 25 years. Uh-huh. I have the Ides of March, which is a separate entity.
Right.
But the World Stage Band is a separate entity too. With Eddie Breckenfeld on drums and Mike Quino on guitar and on and on. It's just a real solid unit that I rely on for these type of albums.
And then you get to bring in some special guests too. I know in the first one you had Kevin Cronin from REO, you had Don Barnes from 38 Special, and we listened to a little bit of the record before we got to talking to you. It sounds, this just sounds like that good nostalgic rock. Like if you're familiar with the Ides of March and Survivor, like this record just has that kind of feel to it, and it's just kind of like a warm hug back into classic rock again,
Well, yeah, that's what I do. I'm not going to try and reinvent the wheel,
Right.
And I do what I do best. And the song is always key, and do something with some meaning, something that people could relate to, a positive message. I'm not into doom and gloom. I've always been, very, very positive, and I think that uplifts people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the music is great. We really appreciate, that you're still out there doing this, man.
Yeah, man. Roots and Shoots Volume 2. It's out now, and it has all those feel-good vibes from all your past projects and songs you've written with other bands. So congratulations on the record. Pick it up now in your local record shops and on all major digital streaming platforms. It was an honor to talk to you, Jim. We appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Mark and Meatball. You guys are great.
Hey, thanks,
buddy.
Jim.
All right. Rock on.
Hey,
See ya.